The next student we will hear from is Nejra Sumic. She is a former refugee who was forced to flee from her home country of Bosnia and Herzegovina. After surviving a civil war, Nejra and her family were granted asylum in the United States. She has earned a master's in public administration at Western International University. And in her current role, Nejra is the National Field Manager of the We Are All American campaign and the Arizona delegate for the Refugee Congress, where she helps advocate for refugees and asylum seekers. She is also the co-author of the book Divine Love and sits on various national and local boards. She is most passionate about human rights because she believes that everyone deserves the fundamental right to seek safety and refuge. Please welcome Nejra.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nejra Sumic, and I am from a country called Bosnia and Herzegovina. It is a small country in the Balkan area, which is part of Eastern Europe. I may be biased, but it is the most beautiful country in the world. It is covered in green and beautiful rivers that flow throughout the country that are connected. Unfortunately, in the 90s, my beautiful country was destroyed through a brutal civil war that took place, where my family and I had to flee and survived a genocide that took place at the time. But tonight, I will not be talking about the war. I will be sharing about cultural celebrations and the beautiful memories I hold dear to my heart as a small child about my country. While it may seem cliche, for our family, New Year's represented a big cultural celebration. It exemplified the celebration of unity of all people and new beginnings for everyone. It also exemplified for me the last time my whole family would gather in our home country before the unspeakable would happen, the war. You see, my maternal grandparents were the staple of our family. They had 7 children, including my mother, and each sibling had at least 2 to 3 children, which meant lots of cousins for me to play with. And during our last New Year's party, we gathered at my grandparents' home. We would help decorate the room. And while the space was not big, their home was not big, we managed to squeeze all of the family members in there, the siblings, the cousins, the grandparents, and our neighbors and friends. We were always spoiled with my grandmother's delicious cooking. And whenever we were hungry, we would drop by and she would make us food. But of course, on New Year's Eve, it was even more of a special treat. She would make homemade bread, different kinds of pitas, lamb, of course, homemade baklava, and many other delicious treats. We had one of my uncles who was a musician and played instruments. He played music for us and we all sing along. And then of course, we danced to traditional Bosnian folk music, where the accordion is the key instrument sound that you hear. This Bosnian folk dance truly tests your physical abilities. It means if you could keep up and dance the whole folk song, you were viewed as strong. If you could not finish the whole song, you were viewed as weak. So it was always a challenge to finish the line of the folkloric dance. We also had a lot of silly moments where my grandfather would dress up in silly outfits and costumes and we would laugh. He was always a jokester and prankster. I remember being the youngest of my cousins, but the last one to stay up. Growing up, my mother would always remind me of the story, how I was always the youngest life of the party and always stayed up with the adults. And this is how we would ring in the new year, in celebration with our family and friends. As I mentioned earlier, this would be the last New Year's celebration our entire family had in our home country. The war left a tremendous void for many years. New Year's for a long time was very difficult, and we did not celebrate. It reminded us of being separated from our family and being away from our home. Also, my grandparents' passing in the 2000s was a reminder that things will never be the same. This is why we truly cherish those memories and talk about them often as a family. This last New Year's was a small rekindling of that where we celebrated in my home now with my young daughter. While she may not remember it, I wanted her to be part of a happy, joyous occasion with our family gathered and where we look to new beginnings. This is where we announced how our family now was going to be expanding with our precious baby boy on the way. So to conclude, I shared this story with you all for us to remember to cherish these precious moments with family, to cherish the memories because in a blink of an eye, things can change very quickly. It's a reminder of the importance of us living in the present moment and being with those that we love. And that is my story. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Nejra. That was a